are a bit skeptical of too much military intervention, but you've been supportive of the Venezuelan operation. Explain.
Well, of course, we're briefed on these things, and then, you know, when they bring it out in the classified setting and they contain it in that, but it's pretty much out there now. This guy was a bad actor. It was such a bad actor that Joe Biden even put a $15 million bounty on his head. And then before he left, he and Kamala Harris, I believe they put a $25 million bounty. And that should send signals to everybody in the liberal and the conservative community. There's an agreement that this guy's a bad actor. And again, I don't support troops on the ground, but the reality is troops have been on the ground in those areas since probably before you and I were born, American troops. And I'm
or intelligence,
intelligence. Yeah. I'm always critical of the war pimps in Congress. They always talk it tough, and they're really portfolio warriors. You know, they vote. They always seem to have they're pro-America, but they always have a financial interest.
They'll send your kids to war, but not.
Yeah, they'll send my dadgum daughter to war, and I'm very. My daddy went to war. My daddy fought in the Pacific in the Second World War and never got a visible damage. But to the day he died, you know, I never woke Daddy up except by his toe because he might wake up on one of those islands.
So, you look, as somebody who grew up in Miami and understands the desire here and the Venezuelan community in particular, I get it. It was really the same issue with Saddam Hussein. Everybody wanted him out. The question is, are we prepared to stabilize the place after? Are we prepared to stabilize Venezuela?
Well, I don't know. I think President Trump's folks did some pretty good research on this, and their desire for freedom, and I feel like democracy, really, Chuck. The deal was they would have more control over their future than in the past when we've done this nation building thing, because it never seems to work. You know, we put the people down there and we spend millions and billions of dollars, and then we end up losing American lives, and it just never seems to work. And in the beginning, there was a lot of talk of troops on the ground, but I'm glad that there's more of a tap in the brakes right now and hopefully letting them govern themselves. That's what I would vote for.
Okay, but we haven't gotten rid of the regime.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and it's still there. You cut the head off. And it's just, I always tell people it's like kudzu in the South. You cut it down, it's going to pop up 5 other places.
So, and it seems as if we're getting cooperation basically because out of fear right now.
I think there's a lot of that, but I also feel like and I don't want to go too deep into it because of intelligence reports, but from what I understand, I'll just say that there is a groundswell of support for a regime change of directions right now. Mm-hmm. Now, is the number 2 person going to be just as bad? That's another thought. They're talking. I've heard talk that it is and there isn't, but that remains to be seen. And I'm hoping the diplomacy works from this point on.
Should the United States support putting Mr. Gonzalez into the presidency? Or the fact that he fled the country delegitimized him some?
I don't know if it delegitimizes him, but you know, generally when you have the people around you telling you get the heck out, you're going to die. That's got to have some kind of thought in your mind, but I don't think it delegitimizes. I just hope that their hearts are sincere about real change. I hate seeing suffering of others, and that's what you've seen a lot of in this country.
Should the United States push for elections?
I think they should.
When? Like how quickly?
Well, I don't know the time frame on that. That's another thing until we have a stabilization, and that stabilization is going to be economic. That's going to be the primary driver, I feel like, because when people feel like they've got a slice of the pie, they're going to inject themselves in it. And then that's the frustration, and that's the key spot, the sweet spot. We stay too long, the animosity builds towards America. Right. We instead of becoming liberators, we become occupiers, and I don't think that's our role.
Whose oil is it?
Ultimately, it's theirs. And I've had the fight with the big oil too. I don't like them. I don't like them a bit. They suppress things. They suppress technology. I feel like they suppress when a cheaper form of production comes about. Magically, the prices drop and drives everybody out, and then all of a sudden they own it all, and then they control it. And so I trust oil about as far as I can throw it, big oil as far as I can throw the dome off the Capitol. And that's probably, I'm stepping on a lot of toes in my own party, but I really, dadgummit, I don't care.
I was just going to say, I mean, the president seems to be working with the oil industry
Sure they
here. Do you worry that could alienate Venezuelans?
I do. I think, but I have a lot of faith in the Secretary of State. I saw him yesterday, in his ability to negotiate this. And I think there is a fine line there. I think just the thought of our presence being there could probably suppress some bad actors. But again, does the liberator become the occupier, and then the public opinion turns, and then we're in a bad spot?
Do you believe the president needs more formal authority from Congress?
I do not. I remember when Soleimani, he took Soleimani out in his first term, and they drugged the military leaders in, and to me it was kind of embarrassing because of he was taken out in a safe spot, and like the early days of Las Vegas, only people who died deserved to die, and he took out a very small group. The people on the edges of the caravan weren't even touched.
But Soleimani wasn't in charge.
No, but he was a bad actor,
right.
and we knew he was going to meet when these two got together, bad things happened. But I guess my point in all that is that I do trust, but it's always trust but verify. Reagan had a great saying.
Right.
I'm sure Pat Buchanan probably wrote it for him, but it's as you know, being in politics, everybody that speaks is somebody else has put it in their head.
So, what about Cuba? Is this something that happens on its own, or do you think we should be nudging?
Okay, Cuba is that, again, I was asked this earlier this morning, and as a young political operative in my teens, I remembered Reagan was talking about, and I thought, wow, we're going to knock, Cuba's going to be out, but they just survive, and they continue to do that.
What does that tell you, to be cautious in that optimism?
It did, and it also told me that that it's not always what we see, and also the fact that they don't know. They've been fed their whole lives, America is bad, it's Western civilization's bad, communism's good. And they've, from the early age, they would go into a schoolroom and they would say, hold your hand out, ask God for an ice cream cone. They'd close their eyes, and they'd say, okay, open your eyes. There's no ice cream cone. Ask Castro for an ice cream cone, and they give him an ice cream, the kid, and they would put that in their minds.
Oh, I know.
And it's just, and they don't know what they don't know. They don't.